Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're doing a deep dive. We're going to break down, piece by piece, the full combat loadout of an American GI in World War II.
So in this explainer, we're literally going to build that soldier from the ground up. We'll go through it all bit by bit. And by the end, I think you'll have a whole new appreciation for the true weight, the literal weight of the world they had to carry.
Okay, so where do we start? Well, we start at the foundation, the very first layers, the uniform, and the basic gear that was all about protection and, well, identity.
So, let's talk about the helmet. This is fascinating. We all think a helmet is supposed to be bulletproof, right? Nope, not this one. The M1 helmet was designed to protect a soldier from the real #1 killer on the battlefield, and it wasn't bullets. It was artillery. Think about it. Explosions everywhere. That steel pot was a lifesaver against deadly shrapnel and falling debris, which was a way more common threat than getting a direct headshot.
And the uniform, it wasn't just clothes, it was a system, super functional. You had the M1943 field uniform, which was designed to be layered up with wool underneath. That meant a soldier could, adapt, whether he was freezing in the Ardennes forests or fighting in warmer weather. Even the boots and those canvas leggings, the gaiters, absolutely crucial for keeping mud and all sorts of junk out while you're marching for what feels like forever.
Now this next part is kind of wild to think about today. Body armor? Forget it. It just didn't exist for the average infantryman. Unlike a soldier today, the typical GI had absolutely nothing protecting his torso. His only real armor was that helmet we just talked about and how fast he could dig a hole in the ground. I mean, sure, you had flak vests for bomber crews, but for the guy on the front line, it was just him and a shovel.
All right, so we've got our soldier dressed. Now let's arm him. It's time to talk about the tools of the trade, the arsenal that really defined American firepower and gave the GIs a serious edge. And here it is, the absolute backbone of the squad, the M1 Garand. This thing was a game changer. Why? Because it was semi-automatic. That gave American troops a massive advantage in firepower over the enemy, who were mostly using slower bolt-action rifles. And you can't talk about the Garand without mentioning that awesome, iconic ping sound it made when the clip ejected. So cool.
This really shows you how they were thinking tactically, right? You have two main rifles for different jobs. The Garand, that's your main battle rifle. It's for the frontline guys who need that power and range. But the M1 carbine, that was different. It was way lighter, much handier, and perfect for troops who had other jobs to do. Think radio men, officers, guys on mortar crews. It gave them a solid weapon that was way better than a pistol, but not as bulky as a full-on rifle.
Of course, it wasn't just rifles. To round things out, they had some specialized tools. For that intense, close quarters, house-to-house fighting, you had the legendary Thompson submachine gun. Absolutely devastating. Then there's the M1911 pistol, a super reliable sidearm that's been around forever. And you can't forget the classic MK2 pineapple grenade, a must-have for clearing out enemy foxholes and bunkers.
Okay, so weapons are one thing, but fighting is only part of it, right? A soldier's life is mostly about just surviving. And this next batch of gear is all about that. This is the stuff that kept them alive from one day to the next, in some of the worst conditions you can possibly imagine.
When you boil it all down, survival in the field really came down to 4 basic things. First, your pack, the haversack. It literally held your entire world. Second, your canteen. Water was everything. Third, K-rations for fuel. Those compact meals were packed with calories to keep you going. And fourth, that tiny little first aid pouch. Inside, one single battle dressing that could be the difference between life and death.
And where did all this stuff go? Well, everything hung off the web belt and suspenders. You can think of it like the chassis of a car. It's what held your ammo pouches, your bayonet, and maybe most important of all, your entrenching tool. That little shovel was a soldier's absolute best friend for digging a foxhole. Add a poncho or a shelter hat for some basic protection from the rain, and that was your life.
So, let's put it all together. We've got the uniform, the weapons, all the survival gear. What does that actually add up to? What was the real, physical burden that every single one of these soldiers had to carry?
The answer? Over 60 pounds. That's more than 27 kilograms. Just imagine that. That's the weight of everything we just went over. The rifle, the ammo, the helmet, the food, the water, the shovel, all of it. And that was the constant, day in, day out reality for millions of guys marching across entire continents.